there's so many people out there that want to grow their pest control business where they feel completely stuck.
I really wonder what vehicles would work best for me. Or, man, I wish I knew like how to better train my technicians. Insert thing here.
Take that information and apply it to their specific scenario in the way that they think is best. They're the best suited to make those decisions.
It doesn't matter where you start. BugBucks Plus will give you the tools and all the information and education you need to take that to the next level.
You're listening to the Bug Bucks Podcast, hosted by Alan Draper and Eric Bassett.
Today we have Hunter Annan, who is the co-founder and president of BugBucks Plus. And he's usually behind the scenes, but today we're going to be talking to him, digging into the details of the training platform and some of the philosophies and ideas behind it. How you doing, Hunter?
Good. How are you, Eric? How are you, Alan?
Good, man.
Good, man.
Good to have you. Kind of as a preface, most people know this, but Eric and I are also kind of co-founders. So the three of us co-founded BugBucks Plus. So I just like people to know, because of our platform, because of our podcast, because of our Facebook group. I like people to know the companies that I'm involved with, the companies that we're involved with, just so it's not like we're trying to pull a fast one, right? I think BugBucks Plus, I know BugBucks Plus and the other companies that I'm involved with in the pest control industry, it comes from a place of, this desire to add value to pest control has traditionally been this industry that's been kind of ignored, which is a blessing to some of us that can create these opportunities, but in some other ways it's a detriment to the industry. So but with that being said, I think we talked about having a conversation today where we kind of formally introduce BugBucks Plus. We talk a little bit about what it is, what people can expect, and what the future might hold for BugBucks Plus. And so why don't we talk about, where did the idea come from, Hunter? What was it kind of in the beginning? I was actually trying to remember where we came up with this idea and what the purpose was behind it. If you want to just start there.
Yeah. Well, what a great question. First off, where did we start? It seems like, so I first kind of got to know you and Eric as more from the video side of things. We were trying to expand BugBucks into being more of like a video podcast. And so, I just started out editing videos for you guys, listen to your content, joined the Facebook group. And I noticed as I was going through there that there seemed to be a lot of content lacking. It seemed that there were some great questions that almost seemed to be on a repeat, almost like every year or almost like on a cycle, I would say, where as soon as someone came into the group, they're brand new, they always asked, oh, what is this? Or what is that? Or how do I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And it almost seemed like the same questions just need to be copied and pasted from a previous post. And so I just kind of started thinking, it'd be really nice as if there's some type of platform or content where you could watch a video, whether it be or listen to it while you're in the car, if you're brand new, where you could just absorb information of how to, do these simple things or to get your questions answered, because they were just on repeat. And so I remember bringing up the idea to you and Eric and said, hey, let's make a full platform similar to like a YouTube or a Disney Plus or a Netflix, where someone could just digest all this information, and then that way they would have just this great resource for them to use. So I think that's kind of where it started. Was first I was just the videographer for you guys, and then it just seems like now it's just like, hey, let's really change the pest control industry where anybody can start a business from anywhere.
Let's talk about some of because there are some courses out there that have been around for a while. I'm not super familiar with a lot of them. I know them by name, but I haven't spent a lot of time consuming them. I've seen here and there. what's the difference? What can people expect from BugBucks Plus that maybe they haven't seen in other courses? What's kind of the, when I start a company, I always try to focus on, the unique selling proposition, right?
Mm-hmm.
USP. What is it about BugBucks Plus that's a little different, or that we're trying to kind of do differently to separate ourselves from everybody else?
Great question. So the way that we're trying to separate ourselves, I would say, is number one, we're trying to be as high quality and as concise as possible. A lot of the information you find, either it's on YouTube or on other platforms, it seems that their information, you almost have to dig through it. Like you'll listen to their videos, you'll listen to their content, and it's just something where you're not getting information every second. It's not something that you want to take notes on. It's something where you listen to what they're saying, there's so many ums, ands, you get distracted.
Mm-hmm.
And with our platform, it's completely geared to the listener. It's 100%, you're going to want to sit down, take notes. Even if you only listen for a few minutes, you're going to get something out of it, which is something that I found from research, looking at other platforms, is something they kind of lacked. And that's what I want, is I want people to be able to see these videos, take notes, and be like, wow, that 5 minutes was completely worth it. It was on my lunch break. I had a few minutes, sitting in the bathroom or whatever you're doing. And you just think, wow, that was so worth it for me to pause my time and listen. And now I've got something to think about. Some of the courses we're working on have to do with digital marketing with Matt Rogers. Some of them have to do with building company culture with David Gilmer. We got referrals with Cody Barber, and Eric's got a course, Alan, you have a course, and we have so many other ones that are also in the works, where I just want people to sit down wherever they're at, have a few minutes to watch something, and it's completely going to make them start thinking about, oh, how can I implement that into my business? And I find that a lot of the other platforms out there just don't do that.
It's kind of wild. Obviously, I've been part of the journey with both of you guys, kind of creating this and starting kind of in the Facebook group, and then going up into the podcast, and now being part of the training platform. And I mean, you guys have seen my comments on the Facebook group. Like, I have probably some of the longest comments. I probably should win the award for most long-winded. I like providing a lot of context. Like, I like providing really deep dive, actionable content that people can read and be like, oh, that's exactly what I need to do in order to make this improvement in my business, right? And just like you said, like every year, it's like this cycle where like people would ask the same questions like over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember thinking to myself, like, oh man, dude, I had a really good answer for this same exact question like 7 months ago, or like we've had other guys come into the platform and do the same thing, like where they've answered a question that's been really, really good. And so sometimes we'll like make a comment that says, hey, you should go check out this post from way back then or whatever. And when you started talking about putting together a training platform, instantly I connected the two. I was like, dude, this is going to be so good, because we'll finally have a home base for all of our quality answers from people who have asked questions that we can put into really good digestible content.
Mm-hmm.
And then all they have to do is watch it, and they'll know exactly where it is. They just go listen to it. And just like you said, like 5 minutes, you get tons of stuff in 5 minutes, right? And we'll have obviously a lot more than that on the platform, but I just think it's kind of wild from a third party perspective, watching it from like the beginning all the way until now. And in a year from now, it's going to be wild, right? It's going to be a wild
Absolutely.
ride.
Absolutely.
Hunter, I wanted to ask you a little bit about kind of the layout of the training platform. If somebody gets onto the platform and they start looking at courses, how is it built out? What are they going to see?
So at the moment, what they'll see, I guess, like different block, like on our website, there'll be blocks and each one's a course. And as you click on that, you'll be able to go through each course, which is like 4 to 5 videos. Each one's usually about 5 to 15 minutes. So usually each course lasts about an hour. And you'll be able to search through all the courses. Once you have a whole huge library, you'll be able to search through, exactly look at the exact tag of the course, be able to search it up, and find it really easily. And one thing that I just think about, and this is kind of off topic, but I just think there are so many people out there that want to grow their pest control business where they feel completely stuck. Where, for example, I remember seeing a comment where someone had clients from their grandma or something like that. And I just thought, oh man. And I don't know exactly how they're feeling. But if someone out there listening is feeling stuck, if they're feeling anxious, if they're feeling almost like they can't even, if they're just like, they feel like they're stuck in the pest control business, they're just not growing. Oftentimes that's because we don't have the right information or we don't have the right education. And I think I feel so bad for people in that position where they feel hopeless, where they feel anxious, or if they feel like, oh, there's so many different routes, but I feel stuck because there's too many routes to take to get to $1 million a year or whatever the goal is. Or you might feel anxious or hopeless because you don't know the path to it. You're like, I don't even know what to do next. And if you're one of the pest control owners is in that position, whether you're feeling hopeless or anxious, like BugBucks Plus is going to be the one-stop shop where it's going to give you a direct path to making your business grow. And that could be if you're starting out brand new, or that could be you inherit the business from your grandma. It doesn't matter where you start. BugBucks Plus will give you the tools and all the information and education you need to take that to the next level.
I think I remember the example that you're talking about, or that comment. I think it was regarding pricing, if I'm not mistaken, right? There was just pricing that was way too low. They hadn't increased prices for a number of years. And the cool thing about what we're doing at BugBucks is we're not going to necessarily, maybe in some cases, but we're not necessarily going to answer the exact specific question. The cool thing about being an entrepreneur in any industry, and especially sometimes in pest control, is that every situation is unique. You have unique people working for you in a unique market with unique culture, goals, objectives. Sometimes the PCO's more involved. Sometimes he or she, is not. So the thing that I've liked about reviewing some of the other courses, mine also, but some of the other ones as well, is that they get you thinking. And that's how I listen to podcasts. I listen to podcasts quite a bit, one a day on average. And when I'm listening to those, or I'm participating in other types of training or courses, the speakers, the guests, whoever, aren't necessarily going to be addressing my exact dilemma, concern, issue, stress, whatever. But what's going to happen with these courses is we're going to be touching on things that kind of dot around it. I don't know if we have a course yet on pricing and increasing pricing and structures for doing so. I imagine we will someday. But there won't necessarily be the specifics, but it will be like, hey, this is what one company does. They increase pricing like Proof does once a year for a third of its customer base. So we're increasing pricing every year, but for a customer, they only experience it once every 3 years or whatever. And so people are going to be able to take that information and apply it to their specific scenario in the way that they think is best. They're the best suited to make those decisions. So this course, from my understanding, isn't us saying, this is what you have to do, this is the only way to do it. It's more of a, hey, here's some things to think about. And you take that, apply it to your specific situation, which is very interesting because as lawyers, that's exactly what we do. We take the facts of a case, which every fact set is different. Every single fact set, there is a nuance and there's a difference. And you apply it to the law. Now, the people that you always hear them say, hey, if the law's on your side, you argue the law. If the facts are on your side, you argue the facts. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, where people will say, hey, like, I really have the facts going for me, so I'm going to just talk about those. But the idea is that you take these sources of information, the videos, the courses, and you apply them to your specific scenario because you're the best suited to do so. So I look at it as we're not replacing PCOs. We're not replacing any leaders in your company. We are creating a platform that will help them, you, whoever, become better. Just getting those, the thought process going. And a lot of times when you do that, you put yourself into a position where you can think outside the box. You're like, okay, somebody tried that. I'm going to take my unique situation and maybe just do my little spin on it.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the ultimate goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely the goal, is to give you all these different strategies that you can use. And then you're like, oh, they used, this calculation, or they used this strategy. I'm just going to kind of try this here. I know my area. I don't know, these vehicles work better, or the laws this way, or the regulations are this, whatever the rule is, and just tweak it a little bit. Exactly. It's very much like a brainstorming platform where it's just meant to get you thinking.
Well, and it's really cool because we have a platform where we're going to have multiple experts from all these different categories, right? And so it's kind of like if you imagine a PCO designed expert college course almost on pest control, right? Where it's like, hey, all the experts from all these different areas are going to tell you what options you have available from their experience. They're going to tell you what they've tried, what worked, what didn't work, and why, right? For them. And then you just take that information and you run with it, right? So we're hoping that the platform will be a place where, as a PCO, you sit down and you think, man, I would really love to be able to delegate more, or I really would love to be able to develop my leadership, or I really wonder what vehicles would work best for me, or man, I wish I knew like how to better train my technicians, insert thing here, right? All these things that float around in the PCO's brain, and like all the guys that are listening right now, if you're an entrepreneur, it's all the stuff, it's all your shower thoughts, it's all the thoughts you have floating around before you go to bed, it's all that stuff that you're like, I wish I knew an answer to that. And you just imagine that it's going to come in time, but now you have a resource for it, right? You have a dedicated resource where you hop on and you're like, let's see what BugBucks has. And you search for a course and you get an expert who says, hey, here are my credentials. I've been in the business this long. This is what I've tried. And here it is, right? Here are years or possibly decades of experience, and we're just giving it to you. And that's awesome. That's why I love training platforms like this. I've always been big into like educational channels on YouTube and other platforms. And there are other platforms, kind of like we talked about, and credit to those guys, for being around. And
100%.
I think that this is going to be something even better.
And what's really cool is I remember seeing a comment on the Facebook page on the group, and I remember someone saying stuff like, hey, can we get prices down? Can we, I think it was during the COVID pandemic, and everyone was kind of struggling with, I don't know if it was money or what. And one of the coolest things too and this is kind of a teaser for what's coming in the future too, is as we grow with BugBucks Plus, we're working, and it's kind of it's in the background, but we're looking at getting some major discounts from a lot of vendors too. And that's something that's really exciting to think about, because not only are you going to get the strategies, but if you want to get chemicals, if you want to get equipment, if you want to get software, all these tools we're working on right now is to get some heavily discounted prices, so it's so much easier to grow as well. So I really love it's a one-stop shop where it has strategies, but then it's going to connect you to a whole other, I guess, like all the other parts that you need in a pest control world.
Yeah, it sounds like, consistent with what I had envisioned, we had envisioned as a team of creating this network. where it's not just, hey, here's a class, now you're on your own. But with the courses, with the instructors that we have, the guests that we have on, we want them to become part of the PCO's network. So we actually have a really big name in the pest control industry that's going to be helping with some accounting and other financial information and courses. And we want that individual and his company to become part of the network for the PCO, so that it's not just, I watched the course and it's over. It's, hey, I had some questions for him or her or the company, and we kind of feed off of one another. People that know me know that I'm a networker. I have a lot of business partners. I like creating these relationships with people where it's like, I don't have the right answer all the time. A lot of people do. A lot of people come to me and they're like, hey, Alan, what should I do here or with this or that scenario? And sometimes I'm able to help. But what makes me great is actually the people that I surround myself with. It's that, a lot of times the more complicated or the more complex issues, I'm not going to just, tell you right off the rip, right off the top of my head, what you should do or what we should even do in one of my companies. What my process is instead is, hey, I know somebody. Like, I have a really good CPA. I have really good bookkeepers. I have good attorneys. And, we have good equipment providers and truck vendors. And so that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is to create this networking environment where whatever the PCO needs, they feel like, hey, we can come to BugBucks Plus. They have the answer. And obviously it's going to take some time. One of the things that we're going to do is make sure to keep our content fresh and adding to it monthly. So, Hunter, we're releasing this episode. It's probably going to be about the first week of July, give or take. Let's talk about the specifics. What is BugBucks Plus? What does it currently cost? Are there any offers out there? What does it include? Things like that.
Yeah, great question. So, this will come out, as you said, like the first week of July, which we will be just starting to open up our early bird sale. So the early bird sale starts July 3rd and runs to the 9th. It ends the 10th. And in that time period, you'll be able to lock in at early bird sale, which is $39 a month, or you can pay for a full year subscription with a 15% discount. And then after that, on the 10th, we're going to go up to our normal prices of $49 a month, which I believe then ends up being at $500 per year, which again is that same 15% off discount.
And with that, they get, how many courses are we starting with? How many, do you have any of that data?
Yeah, for sure. So right now we have 5 courses that are ready to go. So they're going to be published on July 3rd. All the early birds will get access to them, and same with the people after the early bird. And then with that, like you mentioned, we have a company or business promise of doing 1 new course a month. And we're just going to keep adding things as they come along. Again, we'll be adding things like discounts. We'll be adding things like maybe some networking opportunities, like you mentioned earlier, being able to connect yourself with other professionals and different experts in different industries within the pest control business. But yeah, so right now, 5 new courses are ready to go. We're going to be ready to go. And then every month there'll be a new course.
Awesome.
Sweet. Dude, this is so exciting, Hunter. I'm it's kind of crazy. And again, just looking at it from the beginning until now, I remember when you first kind of joined the team, and it was kind of, video editing stuff, right? And kind of doing stuff. And you brought kind of a look and a vision into the BugBucks side of things that is going to be awesome. I think this is going to be great. And I'm just a sucker. I've always been a sucker for educational stuff. I like knowing a lot. I like reading. And we're really designing this and tailoring this to be as digestible as possible. We've got 5 courses right now, and one more course a month. It's 12 courses a year. This same time next year, we're going to have 17, 18 courses. Like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, that's a lot of content for PCOs. It's going to be big.
I've heard some feedback from some people that are outside of Bug Bucks Plus that are kind of taking a look at it and helping us with their thoughts and their concerns and suggestions and things like that. And I'm trying to remember who it was, but there was this idea that a manager or an owner is going to be able to use some of these courses in their training meetings where it's like, hey, they have a TV or computer or projector, whatever, and they're going to start with maybe the first lesson on leadership. They listen to 5 minutes of it or whatever the case is, and then they take it from there, do maybe a Q&A, kind of this integration, this back and forth with their team. Do you think Bug Bucks Plus kind of sets the stage for that helps? And this kind of goes back to my previous comment about how the specifics will be different, but the general principles will hold true. Is that something that you could see PCOs using this to do?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see it being, again, like we talked about earlier, it's going to be a brainstorming session, whether that be with yourself or be with your, all the C-suite executives or whatever, or, a manager of a branch, that says, hey, let's just pull everyone together and let's listen to marketing 101. Let's see how we can become more successful in social media or, with SEO or, our company culture just isn't working. Something's wrong with it. Let's turn on David Gilmour's course real quick, watch 5 minutes, and let's just talk about it. Oh, that was interesting. He brought up this point, this point, this point. Which one of these do you think we could work on just for this month? Things like that are going to be a huge discussion point with Bug Bucks Plus. People will be able to use in their meetings. We're working on making some PDFs and exercises as well, again, just to get that process going. Something that you could print off for your meetings. You're like, oh, man, our meeting again, I'm not prepared for Monday. This is more from like the procrastination CEO or branch manager. Like, I don't know what to do. Oh, look at this. They have an exercise. We can write down some notes, some thoughts. There's some prompts. Part of your meeting can become literally just, let's pop out some Bug Bucks Plus. We can pop it out, this PDF, print it off. All right, everybody fill out your thoughts on what's missing. What do we need to do for this topic? It's going to become a great talking point, whether that be with your small team, with your whole company, or even something where you go to, I don't know, Pest World or to one of these big events, and you can ask other people too, like, oh, what did you learn from, Bug Bucks Plus? What have you pulled out from this material? Like, I thought this course was really interesting. And you can just like share those ideas with each other.
I think it's awesome. Obviously we've got the connections you're going to get from Bug Bucks Plus. You've got the information from the course, which is going to be killer. You've got tools that we're going to have, right? And one of my favorite things is that the courses that we're going to put onto the platform are going to be likely from direct information from people who listen to the podcast and people who are in our Facebook group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you don't really get that with some of these platforms where, it's kind of a little bit more disconnected, but I love being able to answer questions directly from our Facebook group and what we talk about on the podcast, so you're going to get a lot of that, which is going to be awesome. So just kind of going back to what you said, it's really is designed to be the one-stop shop for a PCO to build and grow and scale his company.
100%. 100%. And the other platforms I look at too as well, kind of like what you mentioned, it seems like there's a whole lot of money first kind of thoughts. And for us, it's like we are basing our whole platform on the needs of the PCO, of the technician. I go through the questions of the Facebook group and I think, man, how awesome would it be to have a video or whole course on this that someone can dive into? And that's totally the whole thought. It's not about us. It's not about Alan, Eric, me, nothing about that. It's all about the PCO. what information is actually going to help them progress with their business, make it grow, scale it, everything.
I think it's cool that we have this kind of dual approach where we're proactive, where we're kind of coming up with courses and ideas on our own. We're going to be throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks, what works, what doesn't. But we're also going to be reactive, where we're going to be relying on feedback from people about what courses, about things that work, things that don't, and making adjustments. So, which is funny because that's exactly how a PCO should approach their business. They should, when the waters are still, you're just kind of paddling. You choose a direction and you're paddling. And then, as the wind comes up or things change or whatever, you react to that. As inflation goes through the roof and starts to just eat away at small businesses, for example, you have to be reactive. And I think that's kind of what we're setting the table to be. In my company, we just had a meeting this morning with one of my companies, and I went on for about 5 minutes about how real I want people to be with their feedback. I was talking to some employees, and I stressed it over and over and just, basically, beat them up with it that your jobs are safe. I need authentic feedback. I don't hold back, and companies that offer that type of clarity and transparency are really the ones that thrive. I learned that concept from a book I read about Netflix. And in the early days, that's what really kind of boosted Netflix into orbit and absolutely crushed competitors. Was a lot of their great ideas came from employees and came from people that weren't necessarily making the decisions, but the people at the top were humble enough to ask for the feedback, to act on it, to not get worked up or upset about it, which can be tough. Our companies, they're our babies. That's what we put our blood, sweat, and tears into in terms of, professionally speaking. So when somebody says something, it's like, oh man. But if you, as an owner of your company, if you go with this attitude of, hey, I truly value what you say, and the quicker you tell me what you think and the more authentic and genuine you are about it, the better our company is going to be. And so I think that's really cool that we're taking that approach with Bug Bucks, where we really need to hear the feedback as specific as, the PCO wants to make it. Hey, you need a course about how to handle employees that have an issue showing up to work on time on Monday mornings. That very common issue, something that we struggle with. And then, we'll take, not to say every single suggestion is going to come to life in a full blown course, but that's kind of our approach. And that's my approach with a lot of my companies, where it's like, there's people with boots on the ground. They just know more because they're the ones out there. And an issue that I see with a lot of pest control companies is, this idea that the PCO knows more or they know better. And I think you do with some things, right? With organization, with leadership, with taking risk, with, whatever. But there's also some things that we need help with. And I'm going to be the first one to admit that that's the case with all of my companies, but especially with Bug Bucks Plus. This is my, invitation, this open invitation for people that, are looking for some help. Let us know. Let us know how we can do better. Somebody made a comment about one of my courses not being specific enough, and he hit the nail on the head. So guess what I'm going to do in my next course? Make sure that I drill down into the details a little more. And And it's that type of feedback that as individuals, it makes us better leaders. It's not always easy to hear, right? We love hearing the praise and the, all those things. Like when I was talking about the feedback this morning, I was talking about like the negative things that we need to do differently with this company. And as we're beta testing some things, and somebody said, "Oh, don't skimp on the positive feedback." And I was thinking, yeah, for some people, they need that. They need that. Otherwise they won't listen to the negative feedback or constructive feedback or whatever. But for me, I'm like, I just want to get better. I want to do better. I'm motivated by that. So, I think that's a cool position to be in with Bug Bucks Plus, where it's, we're in a lot of ways, we're trying to figure this out. This is the first time I've done it. I know the pest control industry a little bit, but in terms of creating a course, like I want to help build this course so that it's robust, so that it really helps as many pest control companies as possible. And I think we're off to a great start.
100%. I was just kind of thinking about, I don't know why this came to my brain, but I was kind of thinking about, I don't know how many of you had like a little comforter when you were like a baby, but like oftentimes you're a baby, you have like a little blanket, a little square cloth or something, or like a teddy bear that you hold on to. And for me, I had one and had little soccer balls on or whatever. And I remember I would carry that thing around with me everywhere. I would put it in my backpack, like going to kindergarten, preschool. Like my mom would definitely not have approved. She was like, no, keep it home, whatever. But the thing that I was just thinking about was, I'm like, what was the coolest thing about that is it kind of grew with you. Like the blanket, the comforter, it gave you comfort, kind of gave you, I don't know what, but it just gave you something special. And as you give that feedback, as you give, hey, I'd really like a course on this, or hey, I gave, even with Alan's example of, wasn't specific enough. The great thing about as you give feedback with us is this company, Bug Bucks Plus, it's going to grow with you, just like that comforter. Whether you're starting at zero, starting company brand new, you're a technician, turn to CEO, or whatever. Like if you give us the feedback, we're going to grow with you, and you're going to be able to see what you want to see on this platform.
I just thought of an idea for a course that we haven't done yet, which is just, hey, PCO, hey, pest control owner, you're having a bad day, watch this video. Like some motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Like just because we've all been beat down so much, it's like, hey, you're having an issue with maybe one of your partners. Watch this video. You're having an
David Goggins running barefoot, through like flaming hot desert.
Exactly.
Get up at 4:30 a.m. Go. What are you
like
doing?
Some motivation stuff. Like, hey,
oh yeah,
you're having, the finances aren't what you thought it was going to be this year. Watch this video. I think that would be cool.
That would be awesome. Would be awesome. And also, one last point I want to bring out too. We kind of talked about all about the consumer side. If you are listening to this and you think, and you are an expert in your field and you have something to share, feel free to reach out to us too and say, hey, I'm an expert in XYZ. I would love to teach about, again, XYZ. Feel free to reach out to us. Like we are more than willing to work with you to help you start scripting, to help you start working through the process and making a course with us. We're open to pretty much everyone. We just want to make sure that you're an expert in your field and can really offer some great tips for our PCOs.
And another thing, I don't know how many vendors are listening, if they do or not, but if you've got a product, software, tool, anything like that you think is really, really helpful to PCOs, and you want to find a way to get your product out to people, let us know. There's something there. We'll have avenues for vendors. And we want you to be part of that network. So yeah, vendors, experts, reach out to us.
For sure. Great invitation to end on. Hunter, thanks for joining us today. I'm looking forward to the journey. You're kind of the man at the helm. I'm excited for what Bug Bucks Plus is doing. Where do people go if they want to hear more? Do they go to the website, or what's the best place for them to connect?
Yeah, so our website is BugBucks Plus. It's BUGBUX and then PLUS.com. And there you'll be able to at least get on our email list so that you can be an early bird or get that early bird pricing. Once you sign up, I will send you out an email with a link to where you can sign up for our course. Other than that, you can always message me. I'm just Hunter Annen pretty much everywhere. So HUNTERANNEN, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, to send me DM, and that works.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today, brother. Wish you nothing but the best with BugBucks Plus and your future endeavors.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please show your support by subscribing and leaving us a 5-star rating. Thank you, and we'll catch you on next week's episode.